is black. Yo, look, sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade do rags. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to copy blast to rap.
Rooting for tonight.
I'm rooting for everybody black. I am.
Good morning, and that's what we are rooting for. Everybody that's black. Welcome to Black Press USA's morning show, where we bring you the headlines and, of course, the culture, if that was not the culture. And I have a voice for the culture, for Black women, and for politics. Our co-host this morning is Katrina Robinson, a former Tennessee state senator. She's an award-winning entrepreneur and a sought-after crisis strategist. So, of course, we had to have you on the show this morning. Good morning, Katrina.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. It's been a minute, but as we have these stories today, when we were looking at them and thinking about the conversation, I was like, Katrina Robinson has to roll with us today, Greer.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Neil.
Okay, for sure. But first, the chat is already chatting. So we definitely want to say good morning to Oren G. Now, Katrina, Oren G, he has an HBCU sports show on Fridays.
Oh.
And so every Friday he pops in and he is officially named Friday SWAC Hoodie Friday. So he says today he's rocking his Alcorn State Braves hoodie.
Okay.
Yeah, every Friday popping in. Nancy Wall says happy Friday, chat. Michelle Madison has popped in, and so has Big Cheese. And Big Cheese, you know, he's very contrary to everything we have to say, but you know, all are welcome.
Everybody has to play their role.
So let's start with our morning poll. So we start off the show with the morning poll, Katrina, and we have a few today, chat, because there's a lot to talk about and we want you to weigh in. But our first poll is 100 years ago, we fought just to get our history in the books. Today, we define global culture, okay? So the question is, which area of Black culture is the most unstoppable in 2026? Okay, so chat, we need you to weigh in on which area of Black influence is the most unstoppable in 2026. So option A is the boardroom career. When we're talking about building Black buying power. Option B is the digital era, Black Gen Z content creators. Option C is the ballot box, you know. Is that our influence? And then D is the HBCU wave, record enrollment in NIL deals. So which force is going to be unstoppable for Black folks this year and as we look into the future? You can chime in on the chat. And Katrina, what would you say?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because we dominated every area. That's a hard one to choose from, Neil. I would say maybe our HBCUs.
Okay, so the HBCU wave. Okay.
Yeah, I think NIL deals have really kind of opened the doors for a lot of us because a lot of times in the past, our talented athletes would not go to HBCUs because they felt like the opportunity was going to be stifled. But now that the NIL door is open, it's a different ball game. Literally.
I love it. Well, Connie Converse is saying C, which is the ballot box. And then Dr. Marilyn is saying A, the boardroom and careers. I think I'm going to go with C because as we look at what we're up against this year and what's at stake, I think the ballot box is going to be critical because we know in midterms, there's low voter turnout. Historically, right? And so when we look at what's happening, you know, it's not just a matter of voting, but it's like, will people show up? And if they realize what's at stake. So yeah, you guys continue to chime in. So we're talking about which area of Black influence is the most unstoppable? Is it the boardroom A? Is it the digital era B? Talking about all these content creators. Is it the ballot box C? Or is it D, HBCUs?
So let me get this straight. We're talking about the area that we're manifesting is going to be unstoppable this year.
Yes, the most unstoppable. Your opinion. Like, what do you think is going to lead the way?
We're manifesting that it's going to be the ballot box then.
Okay. We're manifesting. But I mentioned having you on the show because our first top 3 stories are about women in leadership, and them fighting with, or having to have conversations and justify their actions to Republicans who feel like they could do anything they want. And so let's start with Rep. Jasmine Crockett, who's under fire after a heated House floor debate where she defended Delegate and Rep. Stacey Plaskett out of the Virgin Islands. Now, Republicans have moved to censure Plaskett after text messages were revealed she was in communication with Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. Now, Crockett said the GOP has selective outrage, pointing out that Donald Trump and Epstein were Betsy's, okay? And alleging that Republican donors also have ties to the disgraced financer. And so, Katrina, you are all too familiar with selective outrage from Republicans because you were in Tennessee in the Capitol as a representative. And, it's not the same, but you have expressed and said that similar things have happened to you. So what are your thoughts about this whole conversation about Jasmine Crockett supporting and defending her sister, Stacey Plaskett?
Absolutely. So I believe that the GOP literally only is outraged when it's time to skirt accountability. So in this particular instance, we're censuring Stacey Plaskett for communicating with her constituent at the time, when we have people who are in constant communication at this time with Jeffrey Epstein for other issues, right? And I think the GOP does this every time. It's all about changing the subject when the heat is on. Mm-hmm. And they take every opportunity to do that. And shout out to Rep. Crockett for doing this, because this is what Democrats need to do. They need to call them out every chance they get. Because if we unveil what's really happening behind the scenes, then nobody's going to be happy.
Right. I just think that, she was on point with the selective outrage, right? Yeah. And I think there's also a conversation of just because you attended a Jeffrey Epstein party, it doesn't mean that you knew or you consented to the behavior that was happening. That's just like a Diddy party. Just because you went to a Diddy party or you went to his birthday party, it doesn't mean that you have affiliation and know what was happening. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so that's the part that throws me off. But to go as far as the censure, when you have released 1 million pages and over 75 to 80% are redacted. Yeah. And it's coming out that Donald Trump's name appears more than Jesus is in the Bible. Yeah. In those Epstein.
Or somebody said than Harry Potter does in the Harry Potter series.
I mean, come on. Yeah. What is this about?
Yeah. And if we want to look at text messages, let's look at Donald Trump's text messages during that time. Can we do that?
I'm waiting, Chad. I'm waiting for somebody that Red Hood. You said, I'm sorry, I can't take this seriously. Y'all support Jasmine Crockett, but can you answer that question?
This is not about supporting Jasmine Crockett. This is about supporting accountability for people's actions that actually impact other individuals for a lifetime, not someone texting their constituent in reference to legislation that the constituent had interest in.
And I find it interesting as how they see, and I'm talking about Republicans and Donald Trump, how they see and they view what women have to say, whether you're black or white, to just disregard what happened to those young girls at the time. Mm-hmm. And the trauma that they still have, and to know some of them have committed suicide, and to see somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene change her wicked ways because she talked to some of those women that are in those files, and she says she believes them, and that she started getting death threats for speaking up for them. And so
that says a lot.
That says a whole lot. But the fact that they disregard women, and like Jasmine Crockett says, they have selective outrage. And another woman that is like, not today, baby, is Hillary Clinton. Okay, yesterday she had enough. She made it publicly clear she wants her testimony of Jeffrey Epstein in public. Republicans want to do it in the closet with the lights off. But she says if she's going to talk, it should be in public. Now, she made this demand after she and Bill Clinton dropped their efforts to resist subpoenas to testify before the Oversight Committee. Now, Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said the Clintons' testimony would be taken via deposition and that there might be a public hearing. So she got to her Twitter fingers, Katrina, and she said, so let's stop the games. If you want this fight, let's have it in public. Okay. Then she says, you love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. Okay. Then she went back. Katrina, she jumped on Twitter again. She said 6 months we engaged in Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They've ignored all of it. They've moved the goalpost and turned accountability into an exercise of distraction. So she wasn't having it yesterday.
So she gets it. That is the strategy. We don't hold ourselves accountable. We change the subject and we point the finger at someone else who has nothing to do with what's at hand. And I commend her for going public, but this could go two ways. But this does create the opportunity for the narrative to be controlled in a different way. However, it does open doors for things to be spun in a different way as well. So I hope that we do this so that a lot can be brought to light, but it can go both ways, Neil.
It could go both ways, but I think the fact is, maybe the Clintons are ready to just let it all out, because then it puts the pressure back on Donald Trump. Because we saw Melinda Gates, right? She was going viral this week for talking about her ex-husband.
And she denying the allegations. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught that. Yeah. Even from the venereal diseases. Yep. And him wanting to give her the medicine without her knowing. Yep. What did she do? She didn't deny any of it.
Yeah, she expressed sympathy for the victims. She seemed to be very affected herself. So I think there are a lot of secrets that may come out as we talk more about this that people won't be happy with. Those who we regarded as heroes and icons in our generation, we're going to see a lot of information come out that will change the way that people think and respect them.
Right. It's just unbelievable that women are not believed in this situation. Yeah. And even the way Donald Trump talked to Caitlin Collins this week, saying things like, do you ever smile? You know what I'm saying?
As if she has to meet his approval.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just gross. And then when he was telling her, you let's move on. We were past that. How do you think women feel when they see him so nonchalantly disregarding what happened to them, how they feel? And then you see all these white men, what they said, this picture is going around. I know somebody who wasn't in the Epstein files, and then you have Obama. I know somebody who wasn't in the Epstein files, and then you have Sesame Street characters. That's all that's left.
Yes, that's all that's left. That's all that's left. It's really sad, it really is.
And speaking of women in power, yesterday Harris was trending as the viral social powerhouse formerly known as Kamala HQ has been officially rebranded, and it's now simply called Headquarters. So she's pivoting from the campaign war room into a Gen Z-led progressive content hub. Now, here's the mission, Katrina. It's moving away from just being about Harris, the candidate, and becoming a permanent digital base to mobilize young voters against far-right extremism. And this is ahead of the midterms. So the question is, yesterday people were like, is she rebranding herself? Is she preparing for another run? So before I get to you, Katrina, I want to know from the chat, if the primaries were held today, does Kamala Harris' new headquarters hub make you more or less likely to support her in a second run? So basically, if we were voting today, would you vote for Kamala if she was on the ticket? And I'll turn it over to you, Katrina.
I don't think the headquarters would make me support her. I think what's happening in America today is what's going to make people support Kamala. I will say I was a bit underwhelmed because I was waiting on that announcement so bad for them to announce, the rebranding of it. But I'm all for it. If it's something that mobilizes our younger generation, if there's content that makes people enraged enough to get active and to galvanize the masses, then fine. I'm great with that. However, those who are now dealing with the ramifications of their decisions from 2024, I think the reason why things will turn around is not going to be because of a content hub on social media. It's going to be about how they feel about what's happening in our country today. America is no longer America at this moment. And so we need someone to do something. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now. The midterms are a great opportunity to do that. We're a little late in the game to be trying to impact midterms through content creation, but it is what it is.
Right. I mean, for me, if there was no other option, most definitely 100%, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. But when we really seriously talk about the presidency and who's running in 2028, I definitely want a fresh face. It's not really Newsom for me either. But if I had no choice, I'm picking Kamala or I'm picking Newsom. But I really hope as we go through this year and we start seeing these fresh rising candidates, and we see some people that we didn't even think to consider, I hope that something rises out of the Phoenix Sun or something. And
I'm going to hope for Westmore out of Maryland to rise.
Okay, so do you think that America is ready for another Black president? Obviously so.
They better be. We need to be.
I love Westmore. I just think that white folks freaked out so bad when Barack Obama became president, because I truly believe in part that's why we're in the state we're in. They freaked out. Okay. I just don't think that this country right now is ready for another Black president. And I think if somebody were to beat Trump, and that's even if he decides to leave, because at the trajectory he's going, he's trying to ban elections. He's trying to nationalize them. Look at what he did in Fulton County. So I am really on the side that he's going to do something to where he's not leaving in 2028.
Well, that was my next statement. Before we get to anything, as far as a viable candidate for 2028, we need to be protecting our elections. I think that's the thing that people are missing. It doesn't matter how great of a candidate we have. If the elections are compromised, then what do? We're stuck with the same thing.
Before we move on, you are a former elected official, a Tennessee state senator, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, we've been talking about women in office. From your experience being in office and legislation in Tennessee, how are women treated? Especially like in a place in Tennessee, when you're fighting for things like gun reform, when you're fighting for things like housing and equity for people of color. What's that experience like?
I will say it depends on where you are and what state you're in. So Tennessee was a super, and still is, a super majority Republican state. I served in the state Senate where we had 33 senators. Out of those 33 senators, only 5 were Democrats. Out of those 5 Democrats, only 3 were Black. And they just happened to be women, right? So you get in these committees, people come to testify. You're one of 9 on the dais in the committee. You're a Black woman. The first thing or the first action of the person who's testifying in support of GOP legislation is going to be to dismiss your credibility and to dismiss your intellect. And so a lot of times we have to prove ourselves even harder when it comes to that. And we have to stand our ground. That's why you see so many of these viral clips about reclaiming your time. And Jasmine Crockett is now the angry Black woman, because you're positioned to be that way, because people come in and want to dismiss your authority on topics. They want to dismiss your credibility, and they want to immediately make it about you being there to prove a point for Black women only. And it's really about what's right versus what's wrong. So it's a hostile environment most times when you're in a white Republican-led legislature. And it's no different in Congress, no different in Senate. It is what it is.
So with all that being said, any plans to run for office again, or?
Oh, absolutely not. You know what's great for me is being on this side of things, where I'm helping people to navigate getting to office and supporting them while they're there to provide good governance. And I think there's more power in that, because I have influence both ways. Most times when you're in elected office, your hands are tied. If you want to do the right thing, your hands are going to be tied, right? But on this side of things, you're able to be impactful in both ways, whether that's with the constituency, with those who are new to voting or new to civic duty, and then with those who are actually serving in politics.
I love it. I always say too, I think that there's more power on the outside.
Absolutely.
And let root me, right? I don't want nobody in my business. Okay.
Okay. And look, even if they can't get in your business, they will create some business. Okay.
Okay. That part. So yeah, it's better over here. So let's talk about, so there was a lot of news yesterday about Black media being supported by this wonderful organization called Honest Impact. And the work that Black publishers and Black newspaper and Black press are doing around the country will always be highlighted here on the Black Press Morning Show. And Word in Black, which is a group of Black Press USA publishers, has launched an insight and research division to center the lived experiences of Black Americans and use community-driven data to reshape narratives about health disparities. And I think this is huge, because when we see polling, right, it's always from these organizations, and they say they've polled 1,500 people, but it might be only 3 Black people that they polling. And so to have, some of the Black Press USA's publishers strategically come together, in particular for this, to do some polling, because this type of polling can end up on CNN. It can end up on Fox News, because it is critical data. And so what they did was they did a poll, and the division first major project dived into an urgent question. What do Black Americans really think about organ donation? And you can chime in the chat too and tell us what you think about organ donation. But what they did is they surveyed 1,500 Black adults, and these adults revealed that they have a deep-rooted mistrust of our healthcare system. They have a fear of medical racism, and concerns about care quality are primary barriers in the organ donation community. So these are all the findings that they found, which is something that we're like, yeah. So 57% of respondents said they do not believe Black patients are treated with the same respect and dignity as other transplant patients. And here's the key, guys. Despite we make up 13% of the population, but Black Americans account for roughly 30% of people waiting for a kidney. And we've been seeing these disparities all week, Katrina, about how, the statistic is 12%, but Black people are at 30%. And none of it is good. None of it is good. And so with all of this said, what are your thoughts about organ donation? A lot of people say they don't, they're not an organ donor on their driver's license because they let you die and they take your organs. What are your thoughts, Katrina?
So I'm going to scoop my senator hat off and put my nurse hat on, right? So I've been a nurse for almost 15 years, taught nurses. I actually used to run a dialysis center with kidney patients. Mm-hmm. And I come from the South, where hypertension and hyperglycemia or diabetes is rampant. So I lived in Memphis. Memphis had, in one network, had 24 dialysis centers for one company, 42 for another. It was very prevalent, right? And most of the patients in the dialysis center are African American or Latino American. And this happens because there's such a large health disparity when it comes to education on our health, when it comes to access to healthcare. And a lot of that comes from fear too. that translates to organ donation. So when people come into the hospital, their family member is in critical care, they're in ICU, they can't get them off the ventilator, they're ready to pull the plug, there's someone who's waiting for an organ. That person, if they are a viable candidate to donate an organ, yes, the nurse is obligated to talk to the family about it. The family has the right to receive thorough education on what happens in organ donation, but a lot of times Black families don't want to hear it because they feel like if they even talk to you about organ donation, you're going to let their family member die. Or in some instances, they think that you're going to kill their family member because this is the myth that's happened over and over again. And I think it's very deep rooted from history, of course, but also it's perpetuated constantly that Black patients are not of worth in our hospital system. Black women have to advocate harder for themselves because they don't believe that we're in pain. We have high maternal mortality rates because of this. And I think all of this works together for Black people to think that the healthcare system is conspiring for organ donation in instances like this. And it's very sad because there are so many people who need organs. My mom is a kidney patient. We have to have the conversation. We have to have the conversation. It's necessary. If we don't donate organs, then what happens to people who have so much life to live, to youth who are 17 years old or 22 years old with so much life ahead of them and they just need one organ? So I think it's more about education. It's more about exposure to what really happens in the process, and it needs to happen.
No, I think you brought up some good points, which, is why what Word in Black and these Black publishers are doing is critical, because they're pointing out the health disparities, and their next project is going to be on breast cancer, a disease that kills Black women at a significantly higher rate than their white peers. And we find that up and down. Anything when we talk about healthcare, and there are studies that have been proven that when Black people take care of Black people in the healthcare system, patients are more relaxed to talk about what's going on with their bodies, and they feel like they get better health care. It kind of reminds me of going to a HBCU versus a PWI. When you go to a HBCU, your professors, they are intentional about their students. And they care about their students versus if you go to a PWI, you're just kind of out there with everybody. And so, I think those are two examples, healthcare providers that are Black, HBCUs. This is just our experience in this country. We take care of each other better. The chat is chatting. And then Joseph Anderson says, but they do, speaking about the organ donors taking your organs. He said, I've seen it firsthand. Oh my, tell us more. Right, tell us more. Dr. Mellon said, I believe in organ donations. And then she also says, I also give blood because so many of us don't do it. And that has to do with sickle cell too, right? We're the highest rated, individuals that have sickle cell.
Well, that's a genetic issue. Sickle cell is common or actually prevalent in the Black community because it's a Black genetic issue.
And expound on that a little more. What do you mean by that?
So sickle cell anemia is actually a Black disorder. I didn't know
it was a Black disorder. I didn't know that.
When I say that, I mean Blacks are genetically predispositioned to have sickle cell. So that's why it disproportionately affects our community, which is another issue because people with sickle cell are often discriminated against in the emergency room. They don't take it seriously because you're going to see more Black patients. It's very rare that you see a white patient with sickle cell. So when Black patients come in and they're complaining of this pain, they're not believed because it's always Black patients who have sickle cell. So when you come in, sickle cell is a very painful disease. It's very debilitating. And so when you come in complaining of pain, it's hard for people to get treatment or adequate treatment for sickle cell because of that, because it's considered an African-American disease.
Deanna Parker says, I don't want to hear anything on health and food as we are now eating more bioengineered meats and veggies. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. So I went out of the country recently and I was looking at my banana and suddenly I just felt sick because my banana was literally like this size, right? but I come to America, my bananas are this long, or my oranges are this big. I agree. The food is killing us. And if you think about it, we're the only country that regulates food and drug together. So there's that.
Wow. So we'll be looking more from Word in Black as we talk about health. You know, we see this is really important. And studies like this make us feel heard, right? Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, we're polling each other, we're getting to the bottom of things. And so even through all of this craziness that our country is in, Black folks, Black organizations and institutions are still moving our stories, our narratives, and our issues forward. And I love that for us. You know,
absolutely.
I love that for us.
If we don't tell the story, who will? Who
will? All right. So we'll have more studies from Word in Black. Now let's move to Nike. Now this story is bananas. Speaking of bananas, it's bananas. Now, Nike has always told us to just do it. But now the federal government is saying they have done too much. So the EEOC, which stands for U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, is taking Nike to court, okay, claiming their diversity goals actually discriminated against white workers. Now we're talking about a company that has been a cultural pillar in our community for decades. White folks, white workers being discriminated against, Katrina. I'll let you have it.
I don't even want to give this any breath. I really don't. I'm not familiar with the story, first of all, but I don't want to give this any breath. I don't think that there will be much to hang their hat on when it comes to this. It's like calling a Black person racist to me. So I don't know much about the case, but I just don't see it. I mean, you may have a lot of Black employees, but that doesn't mean that white people are disproportionately affected by hiring policies at Nike.
Girl, I mean, it is insane that these white folks are like really trying to change the narrative of what being discriminated is. We did a story a couple weeks back about a principal that was sued by some white students because the white students thought they were being funny and giving one of the students that is, in a special ed class, gave him for his birthday a bag of chicken, some watermelon, and some grape soda. So the white boys got suspended. So now they're suing the principal and the school because they were racially discriminated against and their reputation has been damaged. This Trump Klan administration is trying to change what racial discrimination is in this country. And I don't think that people understand they're doing it on every level, on every front with our voting rights. Look at what they're doing with the immigration and the ICE. ICE is preparing to be the policing organization of our country. They're shipping ICE vehicles all around the country. Trump is trumping our policing in America, but we all know that all of it derives from slave catching. And so
now that it's affecting those outside of the Black community, it's a different conversation. When we were being shot dead on the streets, it was a different conversation. But now people are starting to pay attention. So it may backfire on the administration. I hope it does.
And I hope that, I don't think they're mad enough. I need for them to get a little madder. Okay.
A white blonde woman with blue eyes needs to, well, I don't want to say that. If a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes were impacted by this, it would be a different conversation.
And you're not going to get any argument with me. You're really not. But at the end of the day, the way that Trump is trying to change the whole, trajectory of how we view and see things, if we're not careful, it's going to stick. Okay. And this is an example. White people being discriminated against.
I mean, he was the first to say it. White people are disproportionately impacted by DEI. That's this conversation. That's the continuation of that from the top down. That's all this is.
So we'll continue to track this story and see where it goes, because what all of the things that Trump's administration is doing is setting a precedent. So if things like this move forward, if it has traction, guess what? It's going to happen to other companies. And you also have to remember that companies that don't necessarily lean into this whole stripping of DEI, this whole stripping of, fairness for people of color, if they're not leaning into this, then they get this type of repercussion. And that's the precedent that this will set if this organization out of the government gets away with it.
Absolutely, that's the tactic. But I think Nike better fall back on this one, because don't forget who buys Nike. Okay?
Right, and all of their endorsements
keeping you afloat, Nike.
Right, and all of their athletes are predominantly African American.
Absolutely.
So there you have it. Okay, so since we're talking about different agencies doing foul things out of this Trump administration, let's head over to the education department. Oh, I like that, Greer. The education department has dismissed nearly every discrimination complaint it received last year due to the Trump administration's massive reduction in force. Now, this is according to a government watchdog report. Now, at the same time, they've dismissed all of these discrimination cases that have been filed by people of color. The Government Accountability Office found that the administration's attempt to lay off about half of the department's office for civil rights, a move that was challenged in the courts, okay? This has cost us taxpayers as much as $38 million. Says 28 million there, but this report says 38 million, as much as. So we're paying for their lack of strategy, because that's one thing that this Trump administration does not have is strategy. They just do shit. Okay. They just do it. And then it's like, well, that didn't go so well. So let's try this. Yeah, they don't think it out. They would do a lot better, but I'm not gonna tell them. But come on, let's have some strategy. So now they tried to fire these people. It's cost us 38 million, and the people are still there. Insane. But at the same time, 90% of the discrimination cases that were filed, they just have dismissed them all.
But the other thing is this: I don't think the administration cares about what it costs monetarily. Whatever they gain as far as narrative is concerned, as far as the Trump Kool-Aid is concerned, that's really the main objective. It's never about strategy or about progress. It's really about how much can we wield our power to outrage people, but also to gain allies. And so with this particular effort, we've spent $28 million. You got 247 people on leave that we've been paying. What is the point?
Right.
You're stressing the American people who have student loan debt, those who are working every day to be able to provide for their families, to pay student loan debt back. But we have people on leave because we want to dismiss claims to save money, but we're spending more money with the people on leave. Make it make sense, Neo.
It doesn't make sense at all.
You're not going to recoup any revenue through student loans.
Right.
You're spending more revenue with people on leave. Where's the progress? What's happening?
I just feel like there is no the only solution that we have is to focus on the midterms. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's not enough conversation being had from the Democratic Party about what's at stake.
It's never enough.
Why are we waiting? What are you waiting for? The summertime, the fall.
And I may get in trouble for saying this, Nia, but the Democratic Party has a habit of sleeping at the wheel. I'm sorry. This is the time where we should be having messaging like rapid fire right now to get people more outraged, because it's one thing to be concerned about ICE agents and their oversight or overreach. It's one thing to be concerned about DEI. It's another thing to be concerned about, the Epstein files, but how does this come together to impact our electoral activity, right? How does that make a voter get to the polls? And I think the Democratic Party is really missing the mark right now in how we rapid fire this messaging out to our younger generation, because they're the ones that are going to be outraged enough to do something different. And a lot of people shy away from that because they don't feel like young people vote. But I think we're in a different time now to where it's so in your face, you can't turn your eye, right?
Right.
In the past, people would say, well, it doesn't affect me. I don't need to vote because it's not going to matter anyway. But at this point in time, if you turn on the TV, if you're on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you, Snapchat, if you will, you're seeing it. And so I think there's an opportunity there to get our young people engaged, which, you know, I think that's really the strategy behind the headquarters change, right? But if we don't take that opportunity to have these conversations about how this impacts you, why things are happening the way that they're happening, and the party's not leading the charge on that, then we don't have any power. We're going to see the same thing over and over. It's actually going to get worse.
Right. And to know that, you know, voter turnout during midterms and off-season elections is extremely low. You would think that they would be stirring the base. But you said something to me that I didn't think about. Kamala Harris might be grooming her next set of voters for 2 years. I didn't think about that. And that's one of the things, and really that's a play out of the Obama's playbook, the Obama Foundation. I mean, I remember the Obama saying they don't even think about us no more. They focused on the young people because that's going to be the change. They literally said that they ain't trying to change nobody over 35. They're not trying to change their mind.
Right, because y'all got trying to change their mind up anyway.
We're going to get these young, fresh minds that are open, that don't see color the way that it's been seen in the past. It's, you know, we focused on them. And so she's taking a play out of the Obama's playbook.
Yeah, that's why I said it's not going to be impactful for midterms. But 2028, you'll see something different.
If she does it, then that's a game changer. If she's able to mobilize the Gen A's and the Gen X.
Are we on Alpha now? Alpha or Beta?
Alpha, the Alphas and the Gen Zers and the Millennials. The Gen Zers and the Alphas. If she's able to mobilize that base, that's a game changer for her.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the game plan. So a lot of, if you look at some of the research and polling, there is a lot of negative perspective on the Harris campaign. And so taking Kamala out of the equation and making it a blanket headquarters is strategic in a way, because it not only makes it less personal to her, but it creates a wider platform for young people to get engaged, whether it's about what's happening with ICE, whether it's about what's happening with their education or healthcare. It creates a larger platform. So whoever is the candidate, now you have our interest, right?
Right. Let's go to the chat for a minute. Dr. Marilyn is saying, did y'all see Agent Orange talking at the prayer breakfast? What was he doing? He also told on himself that he rigged the 2024 election.
He told himself 20 times and nobody said anything. This man has literally, he said it in the Oval Office one day. I think it was back when he and Elon were entangled. He said it right there. He said it over and over again.
I mean, and so I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't, there is this documentary on Netflix called The Family. And it is so good. It gives you so much insight, and you probably would be, surprised, shocked, because it's about how Christianity and leaders, Christian white evangelicals leaders, are really running the White House. And you see, so when we talk about what happened in Minneapolis, that wasn't, I talked about this before, that just wasn't any old church. Okay. Like Doug Wilson, I think his name is Doug Wilson. He's he's a white nationalist that runs like one of the biggest white evangelical church networks in this country. Pete Hegseth. in DC, he goes to one of his churches, okay? And that ICE agent, that Nikema Levy Armstrong, went and called out in that church is affiliated with that. And so this documentary, The Family, which is true, and it goes all the way back to former presidents, past Reagan, it talks about how Christian white leadership is yielding and wielding what's happening in Washington, D.C. So that prayer breakfast, that's the guy. See the guy with the circle? That this is all from The Family. So if you want to know who's wielding power, you think about white evangelicals, you think about white nationalists. It's all intertwined, and they're all on Capitol Hill. And this documentary, The Family, it talks about it. So thank you, Dr. Marilyn, for that. Because if you can, watch The Family. Somebody else says people need to become independent voters. I'm not mad at that. Orange G says the fake Black Americans are a joke. When will one of you clowns run for office? Okay, tell us how you really feel. Vic Morrison said it's a nice thought, but without unity, fascism will always win. So you have it there. So yeah, the chat is chatting. They're going at it. So let's lighten things up a little bit. I think it's Friday. It's a lot going on this weekend, Katrina. Who you got for a Super Bowl?
You know, as my dad would say, I don't have a dog in the fight. I used to be a Patriots fan. But yeah, I don't have a dog in the fight, honey.
Well, I say I'm going for Cardi B. You know, I'm rooting for Cardi B. So I guess that means I'm going with the Patriots, Stephon Diggs. You know,
I'm rooting for Cardi.
I'm rooting for Cardi. You know, that's what I'm doing.
Is the way to root for it, but I'm rooting for her. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it.
There's that.
Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. You have one owner that has been seen hanging with Trump. Was just at Melania's debut, and I'm talking about Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. And then you have the Seattle Seahawks, who has never given to a Trump organization or campaign, and that is a more progressive style. So if you line the two up like that, you know, I might have to flip and go on over here with Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, if we're talking about, you know, the right team to support in this, but we all know how the NFL works, so we'll see who wins.
All right, Chad, let us know. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm like Issa Rae. I'm rooting for everybody black. That's the black team to me. That right there. So Chad, let us know who you going for at the Super Bowl. You could be just going for Colin Kaepernick, you know, who knows. But so the Super Bowl is happening this Sunday. Matchup Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, happening at the Levi Stadium here in California, but up north in Santa Clara. Halftime show, Bad Bunny. You know, have you been practicing your Spanish? Do you know the songs, Katrina?
I'm just gonna turn my caption on. I'm gonna turn my
good idea.
But no, I'm hoping that Cardi will perform her song with him.
Okay. I didn't know they had a song. I know that they've been talking about Cardi may pop out, but I didn't know they had a song together.
Yeah, they have I think it's called I Like It.
I Like It. No, that's not that song. But okay, I'm gonna have to Google. I'm gonna have to check it out. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna have to get ready. You know, for that. So now here are some of the things that are happening around the Super Bowl that you might want to pay attention to. Any Green Day fans out there? They're having a Bay Area homecoming, of course, Bad Bunny halftime show. And then you have Coco Jones, who will be singing the Negro National Anthem. Looking forward to that. Lou Russell. I love her. Yes. Lil Russell, are you familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I love him. Okay, well, I've become a fan. So he's performing the tailgate party. He campaigned. He said the Bay is his area. He should be a part of it. He campaigned so hard that he caught Rock Nation's attention, and now he just signed a deal with him this week.
Awesome.
Talk about manifesting,
I
okay?
know that's working. That's working.
Manifesting. So now, you know, his whole game has changed.
Yes, yes, yes.
And if you want to know who I'm talking about, just go to Instagram and follow Love Russell. It's L.A. Russell, okay? And
You
so
told me something because I always thought it was L.A. Russell. I didn't know it was Love Russell.
it's Love Russell.
Okay, got you.
I had booked him for something week before last, and his team sent back L-U-H Russell, so that it would be pronounced right. So it's Love Russell. I'm like, okay, but can we hear that? No, can we hear it, Greer? Maybe not.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the Super Bowl.
And win.
February 8th at Levi.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the Super
Let's
Bowl.
go. Let's go. Let's go.
We'll see you. We'll see you. We'll see you.
We are
We'll see you. We'll see you. We'll see
the official
We'll see you. We'll see
Hypey House band
Live at
of
the
Super Bowl 60
We'll see you. We'll see you.
in the Bay Area.
We'll see you. We'll see you.
From the Bay Area.
We'll see you. We'll see
It ain't never happened before.
Live at the Super Bowl.
Hey.
Okay.
Talk about manifesting. If you don't walk away with nothing else about this Super Bowl, is that Love Russell manifested his dream. Not only did he manifest performing at the Super Bowl, but he got him a record distribution deal out of it. He still kept all of his.
Manifested and worked.
He manifested it, and his story is so unique because he started in his garage, in his bedroom. Then he went to his garage, you know, and he does these live shows in his garage in his backyard, and it's become this phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And so now every day he's putting out there, he's selling. Let me tell you something. This boy is selling CDs for $11,000. Snoop gave him $11,000 for a CD. Kyrie Irving, I think he gave him $11,001. He just got another $20,000 from some. He is changing the game. He's changing the game so much. Jay-Z went to the Bay to have a meeting with him.
Okay, Lil Russell.
Yes. Okay. Little boy is bad. Love him. I just hope that it don't let it go to your head. No. All right. And speaking of sports, the opening ceremony for the Winter Olympics starts today. I'm excited. Are you excited about that?
You know, not really, but I'm a Summer Olympics girl, but okay.
I love the Olympics, period. So I'm really ready to lean in to the Olympics. There are some firsts for African Americans that we should be excited about. Layla Edwards, she's going to become the first Black woman to compete for U.S. Olympics on the hockey team, and so I'm looking forward to seeing her. And so that's going to be interesting to watch. I'm not a big hockey person, but because of her, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to lean into some hockey.
Well, you know what? I will too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go.
And so, we have the ice skating. I love the ice skating. We love to see the Jamaicans in the bobsledding. Yeah, let's see that. And there's a female, I can't think of her name right now, but she broke her, what is it called? Your ACL in her knee. And and she's going to ski on a torn ACL.
That could be career ending.
Well, she's in her 40s, so I think she's just going, hey.
Oh, she's like, this is the last hurrah. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to watch because it's extremely dangerous. So all eyes will be on that on Saturday.
My Lord.
So we have the Olympics and we have the Super Bowl, and it's all going down on Peacock. Peacock is winning right now. Okay. And so last but not least, this is a good story to talk about. It started trending yesterday, and I'm talking about Glorilla. Now Jay-Z says nobody wins when the family feuds. But Glorilla's sister, Kira, recently took to social media to vent, suggesting, well, let's see. Is this the video, Greer? No, it's not the video.
I don't think we can play her video.
Oh, it's too much beeping, right? It's too much beeping.
You won't even understand it.
Okay, so basically, I'll tell you what she said without all the cuss words. She suggested that once one person in the family makes it, they have a moral responsibility and financial obligation to lift the entire household out of their circumstances. So her sister says Glorilla is not breaking bread and that her mama still works at FedEx and that Glorilla needs to do it. I mean, what do you say?
So, I may be a little bit biased because I'm a Memphis girl, okay? Glorilla really doesn't owe anybody anything, if we're being honest. However, when the family has lived in poverty for all of these years, it is assumed that if one of us makes it out, we all make it out, right? That's the thing. But we got to be honest. Victoria, or if y'all want to call her Kira, whatever you want to call her, she's no...
Oh, you know her by her government name, Victoria. Okay, tell us what you know.
She's no Damon Wayans or Marlon Wayans to Keenan, okay? So we have to be realistic about the family situation. We don't know what happened in that household when they grew up. I mean, I know there was a big issue about a domestic violence issue between her and Glorilla in the past. So I can understand how there can be some bad blood between sisters. And I really think the family is used to her, but we're not used to her. So if it were an issue, we probably would have heard from the other 8 siblings in this whole situation. But I don't agree that just because one sibling makes it out that they are obligated to pay for a lifestyle for the other siblings. Now, what really upset me was that girl getting on TV and telling TMZ she only wanted $2,500. You're doing all this for $2,500. Glorilla, please just cut her a check, please.
Now, what about her saying that Glorilla's mother still works?
I think, from where we come from, there are NFL players who come from Memphis. There are rappers and entertainers who come from Memphis. And sometimes the mother and the father, they don't want to leave their homes. They want to stay in Orange Mound or Whitehaven or wherever they live. They want to work their job because they want to maintain their independence. So I really think if the mom is working, she's choosing to work. That's what she wants to do.
Okay, so Chet.
Let us not forget Oprah Winfrey's mama didn't want to leave her house.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, here's
this young lady is just. I think she's looking for 15 minutes of fame, which we're giving her.
Or she needed $2,500. It sounded like,
well,
and that was nothing. That was chump change. Girl, you're not gonna give me $2,500. Okay, watch this. Stand by. Shade Room. Neighborhood Talk. Hollywood Unlocked. TMZ. Let's go.
Well, they said she'd been trying to get on TMZ for a while. That was some of the chatter. She had been trying to talk to TMZ in the Shade Room for a while because she was Glorilla's sister. So now she got her wish. Hopefully this quiets her down and Glorilla and Brandon Ingram can go about their life. But she surely ain't gonna get nothing now, honey.
Well, here's the debate. Let's settle it. If you made $10 million today, is your family entitled to a cut?
My family?
Yeah, that's just that's just for the chat. It's for you. It's for me. If we were able to clear a check for $10 million today, is our family entitled to a cut?
I don't agree that my family is entitled to a cut. Now, I would give my family whatever they need, but I don't believe they're entitled to anything. Whatever I choose to give them is what I choose to give them.
Listen, y'all, I'm sorry. I just got to say, $10 million ain't enough. $10 million is not enough money these days. It's not a lot of money these days. $10 million used to be a lot of money, but $10 million, like, nah.
But that's not the question. That is not the question, Greer. Come on back in here. The question is, if you got $10 million, does your family deserve a cut?
I don't think they're entitled to a cut. But I think that when you people,
what about your kids? What about your kids?
Oh, my kids, I'm going to take care of, right? But they're not entitled to. If we're only talking about $10 million, because that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it's only $10 million.
Okay, let's do 50. Okay, 50. The question is, are they entitled? So you like literally like, okay, 10 million ain't enough to share. Okay, let's go 50. 50
But
million.
either way, Neil, like look at MC Hammer. Like you can't take care of everybody. You have to be. And
I'm gonna take care of my mama and
like,
my
Glorilla
kids,
has
and that's
10
it.
siblings. Like if I have to take care of 10 siblings, and I'm just now getting into the industry, I don't have a guarantee that I'm gonna, make it for my lifetime. So I have to be very diligent about how I spend my money. So I understand where she's coming from. But if it was my family, yes, I would feel like I need to take care of my mom. Me and my daughter actually had this conversation the other day. I said, baby, if I'm rich, I'm rich. You're not rich. But but I feel like, yes, I do want to contribute to the lifestyles of my family because I don't want to be living, my dream life and they're living in squalor, of course.
Right.
But you're not entitled to anything that I've worked for, that I've sacrificed for. You don't know what I've had to do in order to get to where I am. That doesn't make you entitled to any of it.
So if you see your loved ones, people you grew up with, living in poverty, and you're walking around with $100K Hermes bag and $60,000 shoes, does it matter? That
my loved ones, yes, it does matter.
Okay.
Loved ones being the key phrase.
Got it. Nancy Wall says the word entitled is the problem.
Yes.
Michelle Madison said, I would help out any family member in need who genuinely needed it. Dr. Marilyn is saying my children and new granddaughter. And then Michael Carter says someone said she might be angling to get a Zeus network, get on Zeus network or something. Oh, wow. Well, I tell you what, she does look like, that they do look like sisters. That there's no denying that. There's no denying that one.
Her new nickname is Glorilla.
Child.
Have you seen that?
No. But one thing is she is getting her 5 to 48 hours of fame. And hopefully, they could work it out and, things could work out. Because if she needs $2,500, give her $2,500. Please.
I mean, at this point, she can get on TikTok right now and get $2,500.
Let's think about this.
She's got enough of following.
And let's think about this. Let's think about how many people have built careers off of 5 minutes of fame. You know what I mean? People that we see in the limelight now. I mean, hell, the Kardashians could be a perfect example of that. One sex tape, has led to an empire. So, you know what I mean? So if you're savvy enough, you can take a moment like this and, she could start a podcast tomorrow. You know what I mean? And just start having conversations. I'm talking about the sister now.
Right.
So it's plenty of siblings or people who took advantage of a 5 minutes fan and have whole careers.
I was done when she told the internet what she wanted to do with the $2,500. Now I understand.
What does she want to do with it?
She wants to buy drugs to stretch the money.
Katrina.
She got on the internet and said that.
So she wants to flip. She wants to flip the $2,500. That's what you're telling me. She wants to flip the 25. Child.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. Good luck.
It's 7 p.m. Friday.
That's why the family is not entitled. Okay, everybody in the family cannot be entitled. That's the very reason why.
Wow.
Because now I got a money laundering charge, right?
Okay, didn't they already run into Glorilla's house and bust in her house in Atlanta or something, and she got arrested, and okay, so yeah, that was a little tea for y'all. So don't forget, we'll keep you posted on this story, maybe or maybe not. But for sure, make sure you tap in and check out the Olympics, which start tonight, opening ceremonies, and of course the Super Bowl on Sunday. Before we get out of here, our Black fact today is in loving memory of a culture icon. I'm talking about Lamonte McLemore. He's the singer and founding member of the Fifth Dimension, who's died at the age of 90. Now, Macklemore is he died at his home in Las Vegas, surrounded by his family. And they said that he died of natural causes after having a stroke. Now, I didn't know this about the Fifth Dimension, but they had broad crossover success. They won 6 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year twice. Okay, for 1967, Up and Away, and 1969, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In. And so Lamonte Macklemore, we remember him, and you can have a little Dimensions soundtrack playing this weekend if you want. But that is our Black fact for today. Katrina, thank you for pulling up this morning.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this.
Good. We'd love to have
always fun.
Well, we would love to have you back. Okay, for sure. And then for those in between time and in the meantime, you know what to do for the latest in Black news, headlines, and of course, those who are representing the culture. There's no other place but blackpressusa.com. Can you put that back up? That did not look like Don Lemon. Is that AI?
No, that's him.
That's him?
He's just a little,
Maybe it's a little early. My glasses are a little foggy. It's the retouch glow up. Okay. But yeah, you can head over to blackpressusa.com, find out what's happening in your Black community. And don't forget, check out Word and Black's report too, because that gives us information about the health disparities we're facing in our country. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. What a week, Katrina. Thank you for joining us.
What a year. Bye.
Bye.